exclusively, I'm able to tell you that one of the shows that was pitched to Skydance's Paramount people by Secret Hideout was an animated Kirk series. You heard me right. Welcome to the Tachyon Pulse podcast, your place for sci-fi news, rumour and debate.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.
Okay, so now I heard a rumour of this, and I mentioned it in a previous video that I'd heard they were doing an animated series and it was going to be around Kirk. And that was the show that actually William Shatner was talking about a couple of times when he's mentioned how they've pitched an idea to him. It didn't make sense to me that it would be coming back to a live action anyway. But then I heard this, that it's going to be an animated project and that he would be voicing Kirk. I did wonder if they were going to maybe use an AI version of his voice or something, which they would still have to go to William Shatner to sort of get approval for. But I'm hearing that no, at least he will be voicing at least parts of this if the show ever gets made, which I don't think it will. But I do know a little bit more. Apparently, this was going to be a Kirk show, and it was going to be sort of running up to the starts of the movies. Him maybe getting promoted at some point during it in those struggles that he was having. Why we basically got to see quite a depressed Kirk by the motion picture. That I'm going to question immediately because it's, again, idiotic. If they'd have done or pitched an animated series that would have followed on from the original series and the animated series that we got, the crew of the Enterprise, it could have ended with it being refit so that we got the Enterprise that we were sort of used to by the movies. That cool looking, and my favourite ship. The Connie refit, favourite hands down. That could have happened during the animated series perhaps. And we got to start with the original series, but by the end of the series, or series 2 or 3 or something, you've got the Connie refit. Would have been very cool. Bring Sulu back, bring Spock back, bring everybody back. AI has got to the point now that with the family's permission, you can use AI to do the voices for sort of Leonard Nimoy's voice next in. I always think you need to have the family's permission. I'm not sure technically under the law you need it, but you should. And it could have been to the point where you would barely be able to tell the difference. The AI has got that good. It's the one area of AI I don't mind being used too much, with the family's permission, and the money needs to go to the family as well. So, Leonard Nimoy's relatives, etc., the estate of Leonard Nimoy would continue to earn money off his voice, basically. Or you just bring other actors that do sort of impressions. That's kind of what they did for The Long Way Home, the Babylon 5 movies. There were several actors that passed away, so they brought in other actors that did kind of an impression or a version of them, and it was fine. I don't love it, but it's okay. So they could have done that. Walter Koenig could have come back, say, or, any of the other surviving members of the original series. And with technology, they could have done that. They could have done, actually, a follow-on of the original series and some of those adventures that would have been really interesting to see. But instead, they're planning this. I don't see how it's anything but quite melodramatic or a drama series, really, in lots of ways, because it's going to basically be explaining why Kirk is the way he is at the start of the motion picture. This kind of reminds me when they did Ben Kenobi's series, Kenobi for Star Wars, and we basically got him a miserable Kenobi, and he should have been miserable by the end of it, but he didn't. He'd go, I've refound my love for the Jedi, and I'll explain why he's such a miserable old git by the start of the Star Wars movie then, A New Hope. But anyway, that kind of reminds me of, you're almost setting it in a period that's going to be kind of negative, and it's got to sort of end negatively. So again, I don't understand that. Would I want a Kirk project if it was animated? To be honest, I think it's the only way they can do it. I don't really think you can have a live action with a man that's in his 90s. I didn't love it when they did the basically Picard reboot where Patrick Stewart was an old man and couldn't really do a lot of the physical stuff that they were trying to get him to do in the series. It was just a little bit too old. Now, if they'd have done a TNG movie where he didn't need to do a lot of that physical stuff because you've got other actors that can, like season 3, then that could have worked. And also, William Shatner has got some health issues. most recently that came out, that he's got some health issues at the moment. But he's not going to be with us a decade, so you can't do a live action with him. Now, you could do some sort of series where he just appeared, fine, as long as he, because he is reasonably fit still. He's reasonably healthy at the moment, at least. So you could have done something with that, but you'd have had to have tried to explain why he's much, much older than he was when he died last. So, again, it's a bit strange that they're making that idea. But I think basically season 3 of Picard, when we saw a door with, Captain Kirk's name on, was where they were going to go with this. I think it was maybe going to be a clone, and that's how they were going to explain that he was older. It's the only thing I could think of. Because he's very dead. So even if you'd have, frozen his body and reanimated him, they would have had to reanimate him sort of 20, 30 years ago before whatever series you're then thinking to explain why you'd then aged that period. It would have got complicated. An animated series is my long-winded point. You'd negate all that. You can get around that completely. Okay, his voice might have sounded a little older, but they could again use technology to sort of fix that. Again, I'm thinking maybe about Indiana Jones when they did the young Indy, and actually the effects were pretty good, de-aging him, but they then used his voice without messing around with it. So you had a young-faced Indiana Jones with an old man Harrison Ford voice. It was a bit weird. So, but you could do something with that if they thought about it, basically. An animated series as well, though, could fill an interesting part of Trek that's missing. Instead of doing a prequel, which I know is technically a prequel, but instead of doing a prequel of the original series that risks stepping on the feet of the original series, something I've moaned about a lot, Strange New Worlds and Star Trek Year One, you take a series that risks doing one thing and then you decide you're going to do another bloody series to make it even worse. Blood pressure, Jamie. Come on. This way, you could have added to the original series, given us something new that had no risk of stepping on canon, because TNG was years later, so it would have been fine. But guys, what do you think? I know a lot of you are going to say, no animation, I don't care if it's good, bad, whatever, I don't want animation, I hate animation, please don't do animation. I know many of you are going to say that. But would this be a way of doing it? Like the animated Babylon 5 was the only way to do it, and it means we would get an additional thing to the original series, some episodes that we missed out on, like the Star Trek animated series we actually already had. Would that be okay? And is this an interesting project, particularly if Bill Shatner's attached to it? Get into the comments and tell me exactly what you think. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit that bell notification. It really helps us out, and you'll never miss any of our new videos. Also, you can become a member of the channel and get to see a lot of these videos before everybody else. Go check that out. As always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.
Our tachyon pulse has been unable to completely penetrate the anomaly.